Welcome to the Circuit of Success, and thank you for joining me. You know, it's been said that success comes to those who wait, but I believe the opposite. I believe that it's earned with the right attitude, a great belief system, and action every single day. When you mix that in with faith, courage, discipline, and most importantly, a vision, that's when greatness happens. Now let's dive right into this week's guest. Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland, and today, man, I'm fired up because I love basketball. I'm excited to be here with Mr. Larry Hughes. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. We got our friend Ryan Luchtenfeld over here.
The man.
Do we even talk about the quote that we just heard from our friend Mike, who you just met?
You know what? I hear it all the time. That's his go-to.
So Ryan likes to say he outscored you in college, but the context is there. How many years did it take Ryan to do that, right?
Yeah, it took him, 4 or 5? No, it took him 4. It took me 1.
That's right.
But yeah, no, those were good times. Definitely good times in my life.
Well, we'll talk more about that stuff. But for those people that may not know who Larry Hughes is, why don't you give us a little background about yourself, where you grew up, what made you the man you are today?
I'm Larry Hughes, 39 years old, from St. Louis, Missouri, downtown St. Louis. Born and raised, I bleed St. Louis, bleed 314. And that's really what's made me the person I am today. My community, my surroundings, my environment. Being raised by my mother, who was a single parent, just instilled, just values of working hard, pushing through, never give up,
Yep.
And that's carried me through my life, and just to keep pushing. You always have adversity, and St. Louis is built around, adversity and fighting through the struggle. So really, that's what shaped me,
Yep.
And that's what I carry with me through the many places I've played in the NBA, the many places that I've traveled. There's no problems. There's only solutions.
Yeah, especially if you can be the solution, right? Come with the solution instead of have a problem and complain about it. We always talk about that here at work.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I obviously run a business and have employees that work for me as well.
Yeah.
And there's always things that come up. There's always things you have to deal with on a daily basis. But I'm big on come to me with the solution to the problem that you thought you had, as opposed to giving me a problem that
that you got to fix.
That I have to fix.
Right.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
So we got to talk about it. You were on the Golick and Wingo show yesterday. Mm-hmm. Now you got to come hang out with this guy, which is kind of funny for me, but or cool for me. But anyway, godfather Jason Tatum, played with LeBron. Mm-hmm. We were just talking about the game. What are your thoughts on what Jason's doing for the Boston Celtics right now, and being from St. Louis?
Well, I'm excited for him. I'm following him, keeping up with them on my phone, and television. We've gone to a few games. But me and Jason's dad are close, Justin. We grew up together. That's like my brother. So yes, that's my godson, and that's the title. But he's really like my nephew, because me and Justin are brothers. Yeah. Like I said, we've grown up together. I call his mom, my mom. His little sister is my sister.
Okay.
So it's a family deal.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy to see him successful. He dropped into a great situation being in Boston with a great coach. Great history from an organizational standpoint. So I'm happy. I'm glad that's where he ended up at.
Yeah, it's phenomenal to see. And so I think, what do you think? So right now, when you think about when you played, or the mindset for Tatum, I mean, some people get on that show and it's the big light, right? And they don't do what he's doing.
Yeah.
So what do you think he's doing mentally that's different than what a lot of other people maybe didn't rise to the occasion with?
I think he's been prepped, for the situation. I think he's had a goal in mind from a young kid. I think everyone around him, supported his goals to help him get to where he wanted to be. I think he's been prepped for it, playing a lot of basketball, doing a lot of skill development work, a lot of communication, going to a good high school. Yeah. All that stuff plays into, what he's doing now. I mean, it's his foundation, and that's what he's able to show, once the lights come on.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about LeBron James. You played with LeBron. I saw you were the second leading scorer behind LeBron James the year you guys went to the NBA Finals. And so what did you learn from LeBron, or maybe what did you even teach LeBron? Because you played with him when he was young. I mean, what was it like playing with a guy that now is, arguably one of the top 2 or 3 greatest players in the ever to play?
Well, like I said, all those things that I learned, growing up, as far as adversity, never give up, always fight through, always push through. Those are the conversations that I was having with Brian. I mean, as a young kid, coming into the league, if it was a matchup, it was a tough matchup, maybe say a Carmelo Anthony.
Yep.
A lot of times I had that matchup early on.
Yeah.
But now you see Bron taking that matchup. It's because that's what we talked about.
Right.
If that's what you want, you have to take on that matchup, you have to take on that challenge, and you have to push through. So I think I had a little hand in, it's kind of his early thought process as far as to what, he wanted to be in the league.
So talk to us about success and how do you define success for your life and for others?
Success is it's a journey, it's opportunity, and success is being prepared to sacrifice. And I think you don't get to be successful if you don't sacrifice. That's sacrificing time, that's sacrificing family, that's sacrificing excitement. So being successful for me is just having the opportunity to help others at the same time do right by yourself.
Yeah. So obviously you sports guy, all that kind of stuff, but now being the business owner, and we talked about that just a second ago, but why is the fundamentals, and I know that's big in the Larry Hughes Basketball Academy, but the fundamentals and the basics, apply that to the business world, and for our listeners, the business leaders that are out there listening, why are fundamentals and doing the basics so important?
I think it's the foundation. I think it's building the legs to the table. From a business standpoint, obviously having the right system in place of, your numbers and your performance, but hiring the right people, and having the right people involved with what your mission is and where you're pushing to is the biggest factor in business. But that's how you lay your foundation. That's how you build your culture of, how you're going to operate as a business. And it's a learning process, and people have done it for years and years and years. So there's books and there's information out there, but until you're in it, it looks different, all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's hard too. I assume you would agree with this, but when you have been successful and you've done something for a long time, to still commit to the basics, right? And so I remember I went to Cardinal spring training a few years back, and I was just fascinated by the fact that they were practicing how to bunt and practicing how to the pitcher to go cover first base on a bunt and catch the ball, right? And those little things that, as you probably see kids today, and I know my kids and Ryan's kids, it's like for them to focus on those simple tasks. Kids don't want to do it.
No, and we're results driven, so they see that and they think that just kind of happened, right? They just see that, they're older, so they just gained that sort of knowledge, from the little kids. But if they continue to build in that way, in that format, then they'll have those skills to do the extra stuff, right? But the extra stuff only comes when you have the basics. Like if Steph Curry couldn't shoot a free throw, he couldn't shoot a 3-point from half court. So he's building that foundation and now be the person that you see. Yeah. And in basketball, a lot of kids want to follow because he shoots the ball from anywhere
he wants,
court.
right?
Yeah.
And makes it. So talk about that leadership. So on and off the court, and especially now using that business mindset, what does it take to be a great leader?
For me, it's being a listener. Being a listener, and giving or allowing ownership of what you're doing, right? Even if they're an employee, if they're an hourly employee, letting them have ownership in what they're doing, what they're working with. I found that's been good, from a leadership standpoint, because you get to buy in, and that's, being a leader. if you can get the buy-in, then you're headed in the right direction.
Yeah. And how do you do that? So I noticed you had your mission statement and all that kind of stuff. Is that something that you do because of your vision, and you take some time away from the business and work on that, or how does that come to your business world?
Well, actually, it's good to know people.
Yep.
So I've been connected. Had the opportunity to talk to some good business people who've built businesses. That's what they do.
Yep.
And not to be the smartest person in the room, I find that to be, taking back steps. So I always want to surround myself with good people and learn from them. So a lot of the information I'm giving you today, or that I talk about, is things that I've learned and that I've heard that I'm able to apply to the things that I do in everyday life. So listening on both ends, you're listening to your employees or your staff, but also listen to the people that have done it before you, that have made those mistakes and can make you a better leader.
Something I saw when I was researching this, and I say it all the time, and people around me probably get tired of hearing me saying it, but I say we got to slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
Right? And I heard you say in the NBA, I think it was yesterday actually on the Golick show, and you said you got to slow down to speed up in the NBA because they were talking about how LeBron's average speed was the slowest in the NBA or something like that, and how irrelevant that is.
Yeah.
But talk to us about slowing down to speed up and why that's so important.
Well, in a basketball sense, I think that's how we develop the kids. They're in the game, so they're just starting. So there's a million things going on at one time. You got, 9 other kids asking for the basketball. You got 5 other people trying to snatch the basketball from you on defense. So there's a lot of things going on. So their game is just fast. I mean, they're running, full speed. It's a rat race, right? In the NBA, you talk about you slow down to get organized, then you go ahead and execute what you've been working on. So that's the difference between youth basketball and obviously the professional level. But from a business standpoint, it's just the basic blocking and tackling. I mean, it's is your website accurate, right? If someone clicks onto your site, can they get to what they want to get to, right? If they want to sign up, do they just have to click, 1 time or 2 times or 3 times, right? If they click 3 times, they're probably not going to sign up. So these are the kind of things that we've learned from a basic like blocking and tackling to make sure that what you're offering, people can actually get to it. That's good.
That's good advice too, because in the speed of the world, right, we live in, we want it. We want it right now.
Yeah.
And if I had to click 3 times, I'm not doing it.
You're not doing it.
Too difficult.
You're not doing it.
Which is crazy. But what would you tell the Larry Hughes of 10 or 15 years ago? Go back in your life, and what would you tell that guy?
Man, continue to listen. Continue to keep your ears open, your mouth closed. For the majority of the time. And be patient, continue to be patient. And you're going to make mistakes, but I think that's adversity and that builds your character. The sooner you make those mistakes, the faster you can apply that information and be better than you were the first time. And stay positive, because things happen in this world and in this space that you can't control. And you just have to adjust to it, you have to deal with it, and you got to push through. So that's what I would tell my
athletes adapt, right?
They adapt for sure.
And so when you look back at Larry Hughes 10 or 15 years ago, you were playing. Was there the Larry that maybe didn't listen?
Of course. I mean, I remember first coming into the league, being under Larry Brown as 18-year-old kid that has been playing basketball at a high level for a number of years, and you have to take it back a step so you can listen and understand what the transition is from from college to the NBA.
Yeah.
So I would definitely listen a little bit more. I've always been a listener, but how the other person receives me listening, I would say that's one thing that I could change.
Yeah. That's a big deal to listen, and I appreciate you keep talking about that because it is important. The more we talk, right? The more we
for sure.
Probably get ourselves in more trouble than we do anything. So, what was it like? So you go to SLU. You guys had a great your freshman year, had a great season, and then you go to the NBA. Or is it because you were this unbelievably good high school basketball player, great college basketball player, and now you go to the NBA, right, where everybody's good.
Yep.
I mean, what was that transition like for you?
I enjoyed it. Because I enjoyed to compete. I enjoyed, before the league, I mean, obviously traveling around and playing against high-level competition, so I knew that I could, play at a high level.
Yep.
But when you get into a locker room with grown men and they have different issues and different problems than you have at 18,
right.
It's different. And then the workload is different. But for me, it was about the work. Like, if you said, 6 o'clock a.m., 4 o'clock a.m., you had to get roll work in, and then we have to go and practice, I'll do it just because that's the competition, that's the workload, that's what goes along with it. So there wasn't a huge transition other than the workload and obviously playing against, grown men.
Yeah. Well, another professional athlete told me this one time, and they said that the hardest thing wasn't getting, and this person was a baseball player, wasn't getting to the big leagues, but it was staying in the big leagues. I mean, was that something you constantly focused on in the off season, and did that drive you at all?
I didn't think about that until probably 10, 11, 12 years in. Like, you think about the draft, right? They have a draft, and 30, 40 kids get picked up that means 30, 40.
Somebody wants your job.
Yeah, somebody has to go. Like
Right.
the numbers, like somebody has to go.
Right.
But I didn't realize that, from year 1 to 7 or 8. I'm like, it didn't.
Yeah.
I felt I was good enough that it just didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't, until year 10, and I'm like, you know what, I got to do extra work. Not get in shape as fast as I usually do. And then you know what, the draft's coming around. Maybe somebody coming to take this spot. So after year 10, I mean, that came into play.
Yeah. So let's talk about the circuits of success. And we talked very briefly about this earlier, but when you hear the word attitude, what comes to mind?
For me, it's your reflection. Attitude has a lot to do with gratitude. We kind of put those things together within our programs. Attitude and gratitude is because, if you're able to show gratitude, then your attitude it should be a positive one.
It's hard to be thankful and mad all at the same time,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So beliefs, what were your belief systems growing up playing? Today in the business world, what are those beliefs, those fundamentals that Larry Hughes has to do every single day to be successful?
I have a positive outlook. When I wake up in the morning, I have a positive outlook.
So let me interrupt you, sorry, real quick. So how do you do that? So because not every day you wake up and it's like, oh, it's like today, 72 and sunny. So how do you get yourself in that positive mindset?
I think it's over time for me, knowing that you're not going to win every day. So your best chance to be successful in that day is to have a positive start to that day, to think positive. And I have a huge to-do list. So things that I don't get to, I just roll it over into the next day.
Yeah.
So I'm continuously rolling. So when I wake up the next day, it's like, okay, what do I have to attack today?
Right.
All right, what sort of success will I find today? Because if I don't find success in the first thing, I just move on to the second or to the third or to the fourth. Because I've created that mindset of these are the things that I want to get done today. And if I don't get them done today, then I'll just roll them into the next day. There's no failure that I didn't get to it that first day because I'll roll it into to the next day.
So never give up on it. And so are you a visualization person? I mean, a lot of people you'll hear, they wake up in the morning and they visualize the day or they visualize their visions and the things they want to do and who they want to become. Is that a part of your life?
I think that would be a combination of vision and planning. I'm a huge planner. Use 2 different calendars for my day, business and family. So I would definitely say that yes, that's I envision being successful every day.
Got it.
I envision being successful. I envision anything that I left off, from a phone call or from an email to wake up in that email that said, yes, it's approved, or yes, it's a success, or yes, it's a go.
Yep.
Like I look forward to that.
Right. And wouldn't you agree that it is a choice? I mean, because you could wake up every day, right, and have a bad attitude.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
So,
I would definitely 100% that it's a choice.
Yep.
Circumstances are what they are, but your mindset is something that most of us control.
Yep, absolutely. So what are the actions? I mean, what did you do again playing and now in the business world? What are those actions? If you do these, this 1 or 2 or 3 things every day, you'll be successful.
I would have to say listen for me. Listen for me because I think in business there's always things on the table that are spinning that are just ready to tip off the table.
Yep.
So me listening and understanding what those issues are and then applying energy to certain situations.
Yeah.
So it always comes back to listening and being prepared to listen because there's a lot of hidden gems within conversations.
Right.
And if you don't listen, then you can't pick them up.
I like it. So when I say the words talent versus hard work, what comes to mind?
I think talent is given. And hard work is something that you develop over time. But I definitely think that you're given talent.
Yeah.
Right?
Just kind of born with it?
I think you're born with talent.
Yeah.
It's what you apply to that talent that's hard work and the dedication part that happens over time.
Yep.
Because you won't be successful just in one day. That's something that it's going to happen over time. So that's that's really my mindset.
Right. What is the old saying? Something like hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work.
Exactly.
So you can be talented all day long, but if you don't work at it.
Yeah, it's a gift.
Right.
It's a gift, just like something that someone gives you for your birthday, and if it's a video camera and you put it up on your shelf and you never use it, then you just got a video camera for a present and you never use it. But we'll look at all those things that video camera can do if you actually, apply
like
what it is.
Good analogy.
Yep.
So let's talk about fears. Were fears ever a big part of your, either growing up or when you were playing all that stuff? Was fear? Did it drive you?
Yeah, fear drives me. It motivates me. I really only fear loss. Really, and that's not loss in a competitive situation. That's loss from a family or close friends standpoint.
Yep.
Like I don't fear anything else. Like
Okay.
that's a business day or a basketball day or competition day or hard work day. No problems at all. Just one fear of the loss.
Yeah. And how many of the fears you put in your mind actually came true to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be?
Probably just one. I mean, I lost my brother, when I was in Cleveland in '06. And that was something that was a fear that was like, it was real.
Right.
It was real, and it was one of those tough things to get over. But using basketball helped me, get over that, that fear of what's next.
And he was sick for a while, right?
Yeah. He was a heart transplant recipient, and he was, getting ready, pretty close to being on the list for another heart.
Wow.
Because he had it for 10 plus years. So yeah.
Wow. So that was tough. So,
Yep.
Let's talk about your habits and your rituals for success. What were those habits that you did every single day? I know you talked about the listening and the positive attitude, but was it working out? Was it eating a certain way? Were you superstitious? I mean, what were the things that you did?
Nah, you know what? I had one habit or maybe superstition is I always put my right shoe on first.
Is that right?
And that's, I don't know where it came from. Maybe it was after having a good game or a good experience or something. But I actually don't really know when it started. I just noticed myself, because one day I put my left foot on and I was like, oh, it's not right.
Redo.
Take it off, put my right shoe on and then put my left shoe on.
So for those of you listening, so Larry's guaranteeing if you put your right shoe on first, you'll be successful.
You may be successful. I don't know. You can always try it.
You never know.
You can always try it.
So let's talk about for people that you get off track, you get disappointed, right? Because not everything is a success, and as much as we like to talk about success, it's not reality to always be successful. So what did you do, and what could you recommend? And even the people you saw that were great at their sport, what did they do to bounce back quickly from disappointment?
I think preparation, preparing yourself. It's hard work, that's road work, that's doing everything before you actually get into that situation. So if you shot poorly, you're getting up extra shots. Those are the things that are consistent, and that's work. Work is consistent. If you're able to apply the work, you can be consistent, and things will usually end positive.
So in your world, unlike my world, in the business world, we don't have the everyday media all over us. If we miss a shot, or we do this, or critiquing every one of our moves, right? So how did you clear the noise and just go perform?
I think that's your mindset. My mindset was to be focused on who I am, understand who I am, and how I deal with the media was a thought process, right? They're covering a game. They're covering what your actions are. They're covering what you're doing. They're not necessarily covering who you are, what you're going through, or what you've been through, because they don't know a lot of times when you go, 0 for 8, what's really going on in your head. Like they don't really know that, so they can only talk about what the action is. Yeah. So I never took it personal, and that allowed me just to move on. And I'm a huge listener. I'm not a big talker, so if I see those guys out, there's no issue. We just move on to the next, to the next deal.
Well, you got voted most acceptable of the media.
Yeah, I did in Cleveland.
Yeah,
because it's their job.
Yeah,
right? It's their job. You communicate with them, but again, they don't know what's actually going on. They only know what those actions are. So for me, I never took anything personal. Oh, this guy shouldn't be paid this amount of money. Well, it's not up to you to decide.
Right.
And my family is very happy that we're in this position. So I wouldn't take that personal. Yep. So I'm able to not have any, clouded thought process when I'm going out to play. It's just a basketball game I'm going to play.
It's probably better to keep those guys on the good side anyway, right?
Always. They have last word.
Right, exactly.
They have the last word.
It's going to be in print.
They have the last word, and again, they're trying to feed their families as well.
So let's talk about the Larry Hughes Basketball Academy now. You obviously don't have to do this stuff, so I would assume that means it's a passion and something you want to help the community with. So why is Larry Hughes doing this basketball thing?
I wanted to be in the basketball space. Obviously, basketball has given me a lot through the years. But then again, I understand that we're not all going to be professional basketball players or be paid to play a sport. So it's huge that we build young people up from a character development, from leadership, using basketball as that sport. Mm-hmm. So I have, more fun when, the kids come in and, we do a pound or we do a high five, we look each other in the eye, we say hi, we ask how your day is going, because those are the things that are going to get them to where they want to be in life, ultimately. But for me, I use basketball because I know basketball like the back of my hand.
Right.
It's like a brain surgeon knows,
right.
When you have problems with your brain, you go see a brain surgeon. Well, I know basketball just that much. So to come back to St. Louis and give some of that information out to the young people, whether they have aspirations to be a professional basketball player or they just want to compete and play with their friends in the backyard, everyone has an opportunity to be successful because it's about who you are on and off the court. It's not just about basketball the game.
Yeah, so there's obviously a much bigger picture here than just basketball, right? I know it's about basketball, but
there is. I mean, I think tons of parents, they put their kids in programs and organizations that are athletic, programs that are driven just basically on the sport, and wonder why, our young kids are, not listening at home or not doing the right things in school, because it's not just about the sport. Right. It's just not just about the sport, especially as we work with the young kids from, K through 8th grade is really the sweet spot. Those kids need, as much development, as much conversation, as much mentorship as possible, so they can be successful.
Yeah. So what's your philosophy on, in today's world, with Ryan and I talk a lot about this, is, we're bouncing around from whether it's basketball to baseball to soccer to track meet to, and the list goes on and on, right? And so what's your philosophy on multiple sports, and what advice would you have for parents out there?
Well, I think in today's age, kids and families have to pick one sport sooner than ever. I think that's just the way it's gone because of all the sport-specific things that go on and just the high level of competition that goes on, after youth. But for me in our program, we encourage multiple sports. You understand different body movements. You're around a different group of people, so you're learning other people. I mean, that's the most important thing, is that your basketball people are not necessarily your soccer people, or your soccer people are not necessarily your football people. So if you're interacting with all of these different groups, not only is we're talking about learning the different sports and the body movements, but you learn about people, and where they come from and what their interests are. Why are they involved in soccer and not basketball, or involved in basketball and not football? So I think that's, the most important piece to us encouraging, our young people to go out and experience different sports, that they're experiencing different, ways of life.
Yeah, that's great perspective. So what are we doing? Let's not say we. What's Ryan doing wrong? What are parents doing wrong in today's world? What are our parents? How are we screwing up our kids?
I think we're in the middle. I think when I go to games, I have the opportunity to be a dad in the stands and not necessarily be a coach on the sideline. So I'm able to see things, from all different angles. And I think our parents, especially from a competition side in basketball, do a very poor job of supporting their kids during the competition. Because what I find is that they're more focused on the coach of either team, whether it's their team or the other team, and the referees. They're not necessarily focused on what their kid is doing or what the team is doing. They're more concerned about what the referee is doing. Yeah. So I think that hurts the kids because they don't get that encouragement from the stands, and then after the game, the first thing that's said is something about that coach or something about that referee, and not that, hey, I'm proud of you, you had a great game, we didn't win this one and we didn't make this one, we'll get it next time. I think a lot of the conversations, and I hear and see a lot of the conversations are about the coach
Yep.
or the referees.
It's always somebody else's fault.
It's always someone else's fault, and I think that that's teaching a bad message.
Yep. So what do you wish you had more time right now that you were able to do more of?
Right now it's golf. I've actually picked up the clubs a few years ago, and then I hurt my back, so I had to shut it down a little bit. But really golf. I've been getting out on the driving range and plan to hit the course sometime in June. But that for me is something away from what I'm normally doing and really what I'm comfortable doing, because it's something new and it's something different. So yeah, I want to spend some more time with playing golf and being out there.
Maybe I can help you with that. I like it. So when you look back and so you think about your academy now, and so you get the parents involved, you get the kids involved. What if I'm a parent listening to this, what makes your academy different that you're going to help my son with or daughter?
I think it's the information. It's the information and it's the foundation. Yeah. It's a lot of the whys and why these kids are doing what they're doing on the playing fields. It's why you take that first step. It's how you take that first step. It's why you use your inside hand on defense when you're in the passing lane or versus the other hand. So a lot of that information comes from my years in the NBA, being around tons of coaches. There's tons of information and bringing that information back. Yeah. So with our program, what you'll get most importantly is the information. And then how you apply that information, how many hours you work outside of the academy, because we only get them an hour at night. So it's what they're doing outside of the academy that's really going to tell the difference.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So what risk, when you look back at your life, are you happy you took?
I think going to St. Louis University. I mean, I was pushed to go outside of St. Louis. Yeah. I mean, I was pushed to go outside of St. Louis. I mean, and it started, very early in high school.
Yeah. Do you remember that first call? Like what grade were you in?
I think I was 15. Yeah, I was 15, and it was a little different. Obviously, back then it was, they had these guys called runners, so they were they can get who they needed to get to.
Yeah.
But it started very early. But my family being here from St. Louis and everything I knew and understood was in St. Louis, I mean, I think that was a risk that I was willing to take. Yep. And obviously it paid off. But a lot of the other programs, pushed a number of pros out, of their universities. But, we made it happen in St. Louis. I'm definitely happy that, I took that chance.
That's awesome. And then I guess final questions, when you think about that success you've had and you think about the next generation, what do you hope? You have Larry Hughes Jr., right? And do you have other kiddos?
Yeah, I have two daughters that are older. Actually, one at St. Louis University.
Oh, okay.
And the other one will be at TCU next year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I did see that. Yeah. I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah.
So what do you hope that you're passing on to them? What's your legacy for them?
Hard work. Be consistent, give energy and effort to the things that you're doing, whether that's in schoolwork or that's on the playing field, and just be encouraged. Be encouraged to be successful, be encouraged to help people, be encouraged to motivate. Because a lot of things that happen are not necessarily money driven. They're not necessarily money driven. So be happy with what you're doing, be passionate in what you're doing, and like they said, never let a day of work feel like work. So it should always be something that you enjoy doing.
So tell us the greatest player you played with and the greatest player you played against.
I would say with would have to be Michael Jordan. I played with Mike in D.C. Obviously, he wasn't, the Black Jesus of old.
Right.
But he's
pretty darn close.
He's still the greatest basketball player that I've seen play and play with.
So if somebody asks you, and we can always edit this out if we have to, but if somebody asks you, Kobe, LeBron, Michael, you got to start a team. Larry Hughes gets first pick in the draft. Who's he picking?
Oh, that's an easy one. That takes up 0.1 seconds. That's Michael Jordan.
You could answer before I stop asking the question.
That's Michael Jordan.
All right. And why is that?
His mentality, his never give mentality, how hard he worked, his understanding of the game,
yep.
and I think really just everything that goes along with mentality. and being successful.
Yep.
Is what what draws me to Mike.
I had the privilege of watching him play. I guess 4 times I got to go see him play as a Bulls player. And
Yeah.
I met him at a golf tournament one time, and I slipped down a hill, and he literally grabs my arm and pulls me back up. He's like, "You all right, kid?" I'm like, I couldn't even talk. It was awesome, and he gave me his autograph. So it was pretty cool.
That's good. I have his jersey up in my house. It's
Do you really?
one of few that I have at the house, and he's definitely one of them.
So he was the best one you played with, and who was one of the
Against?
toughest to play against?
I would say, you know what? I have 3. I'll give you 3.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
You got Allen Iverson, who was always my matchup because we were good friends, and the coaches felt like he wouldn't go at me as hard as he would go at everybody else.
That's good.
Then there's Kobe,
Yeah.
who was just an assassin with the amount of times he touched the basketball, the amount of times that he was able to shoot the ball and develop his shots. He was just always tough to guard. And then Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady started off a little bit slow, but once he got to Orlando, again, he was always my matchup, and he's 6'8", and one of those guys that's deadly.
Yeah.
So those 3 guys are the toughest guys that I played against in the league.
So if you could apply to the LeBrons, the Kobes, the Tracy McGradys, the Larry Hugheses of the world, what if you could say one thing that you could apply from that would help our listeners in the business world? What is it?
I think never give up. Is the attitude, is the mindset.
Yep.
I think never give up because playing in the NBA, it's grueling. I mean, it's hard work. The product that you see on the court, on a nightly basis is the results of a lot of hours of preparation and hard work and dedication to their bodies, to their minds, and just to their craft of the basketball game. So I think that, in a business space, with that same mindset of never giving up, knowing that you won't win every day is very valuable. Because again, it allows you to move on to the next day.
Yep.
It allows you to continue to fight, continue to try to win and be successful.
Awesome. So where can our listeners find more of you? Social media?
Yes, social media. It's the real L Hughes on all the platforms, Instagram, Twitter. I think that's really the only ones that I kind of use.
There's so many of them, right?
There's so many of them, and then the LHBA. Platform, our website, we do a great job of getting the information out and just being really current and up to date with anything that someone wants to know, whether it's skill development, whether it's team play, whether it's character development or leadership, or just the opportunities that are involved with the program. That's LHBASTL.com. And that website is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Larry, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
It's great.
Appreciate
great time
it.
with you,
Good
man.
time.
Thanks a lot.
Tune in next week for another episode of The Circuit of Success with Brett Gilliland on the lineupmedia.fm podcast network. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and through our website, circuitofsuccess.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and email any questions to info@circuitofsuccess.com.